Yeah, there you go. See? Groovy, right? All right, now these are my questions. Don't try to sneak a peek.
No way, I can't read. We're good.
I have to try to... I don't know where I'm going to put these so I can see them. That should work. All right, you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Today we have Dr. Eric Morrison here. Where are we at today?
We're in Chicago at the Chicago Operative Meeting 2026.
Yep, the Academy of Operative Dentistry. It's been a pretty good time. We just finished up our second day.
Second day and we're done.
Yeah, because we couldn't get into restorative.
Because we're losers.
All right. Well, let's get started here. The first thing is, well, tell us a little bit about our practice and what does your day-to-day work look like?
Well, thank you. So I'm a general dentist in Washington, D.C., having inherited a family practice that my dad started over 60 years ago. My dad was a GP and kind of known as the gold guy in Washington. My mom was
Washington, D.C., that is.
Washington, D.C., nation's capital. And my mom was a hygienist in the practice. My brother is also a dentist. My wife's a periodontist. And over the years, my dad subsequently retired and unfortunately has passed away. And my mom currently lives in Florida, and my brother moved away. So I'm trying to...
Yeah, that's really good. I actually didn't know a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think it's not about me, but anyway, I'm still practicing in Washington, D.C., and have had the privilege of inheriting a lot of my dad's great patients.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Tell us, how'd you first come across doing gold foil and Tucker type dentistry with gold inlays and onlays and all that?
Well, thank you. It's actually a rather humorous story now that time has passed. But when I graduated from dental school, actually when I was in dental school, knowing that I was going into my dad's gold practice, I tried to take a little bit more time focusing on gold foil. And I think at Maryland we had to do 2 gold foils as the requirements to graduate. And I totally crushed that number because I did 10. So it was very
5 times the requirements.
Yeah, I was very, very experienced coming out of dental school. And so when I got out, my dad wanted me to get a little bit more training. And so he sent me to Indiana, where I learned. I had a week-long course with Lloyd Baum and Melvin Lund. And that was a very powerful opportunity, kind of exposed me to a little bit more advanced things that I saw.
Was that in Loma Linda?
No, it was in Indiana.
So Lloyd, he ended up going to California later then.
Well, he may have come for that course, but Lloyd Baum or Melvin Lund, I believe, was in Indiana.
Oh.
But anyway, the course was in Indiana, and it was a really powerful course. And I came home from that, and being innocent, naive, and maybe arrogant, I had my office team look up, just out of curiosity, to see if there were any other father-son gold teams in the United States, thinking that there probably weren't because I thought it was rather unique. And about a week later, my team came back to me and they're like, "Oh, we found a father-son team." I'm like, "Oh, really?" They said, "Yeah, is that on the West Coast?" I'm like, "Well, of course, that's where gold, yeah, of course it's going to be on the West Coast." I said, "So it's a father-son team?" And they're like, "Yep." And I said, "Man, I'd like to know more about it." Their last name's Tucker. And I'm like, "Bring it. Let's meet these Tucker people and let's see just how good they really are."
Would it have like a gold off or something?
Yeah, at least in my mind it was. And let's just say I am very humbled to know the Tuckers and have been mentored by both, and they win. They won the gold off.
It's a hard challenge to win that one, I'm afraid. So, did you go to any of the Tucker courses or anything, or
So
the Esperman courses?
I took 2 courses with Dick Tucker and Dave Thornburn in Vancouver on direct foil, and then I took with Dr. Tucker Sr. You're only allowed 1 exposure to him, just because he was so popular and nearing, the end of his career. He was trying to make sure that anybody who wanted access to him could get it, and so you're pretty much limited to just 1 visit. And so I took a casting course at University of Washington with Dr. Tucker Sr.
What was it like? What do you remember?
Powerful. I spent literally the main focus that I did the Vancouver trips first, and then I took the casting course last. And my entire goal that visit with Dr. Tucker Sr. was just to learn to polish. So I spent a whole week learning polishing techniques and being humbled by Dr. Tucker Sr. It was so eloquent in doing it too.
Yeah, what was he like? What do you remember him sounding like and looking like, and how did he move, and how did he go from person to person? What was it like?
He was very gentle, very humble, but so highly respected in what he did. I remember very specifically, there's a day that you were assigned a certain preparation, and it was on a live patient. And at the end, when you were done with your preparation, and you were completely satisfied, no rush, whenever you're done, we'll photograph it, and then you had a personal conversation with Dr. Tucker. And so I spent a good two and a half hours on this preparation, and I was pumped. It came out really great. I was really excited, and I'm like, yeah, let's see what Dr. Tucker sees. I mean, my eyes were cross-eyed at that point because I'd looked at it for so long. And so he brought me back to his cubicle, and he had 2 computers set up, and he plugged in the photos from my prep and brought it up. And I was like, wow, that's looking pretty. It's all right. And then he turned on his computer, and on his computer was his preparation.
Same type of tooth, or
same type of design, and
Yep.
I kind of closed my computer. So we were done with looking at my prep, and the air went out of my sails, and he mentored me. Another funny situation happened there. So you spent 2.5 days prepping, then you were able to do your lab work for one case, and then the other part of the week was spent delivering. And I hadn't done any wax-ups since dental school. But I really enjoyed them in dental school. Matter of fact, I did extremely well in dental school with all my waxes.
So how many years out were you?
Let's see, I graduated in '89. This is '99, so 10 years.
10 years out, okay.
And so I was really pumped to get back into waxing, and I was super excited. And they also had Tucker-trained lab techs there. And I was well into my wax up, and I'm like, I had one question, and I walked back to where the lab techs were. And I asked them my question, and I'll never forget, because they took the articulator, and they were very quiet as they listened to my question. And they kind of rotated the articulator, rotated there, to the point I'm wondering whether they heard my question or not, so I repeated it. And then they kept looking, and then I looked, I'll never forget, they looked up at me, and they're like, Dr. Morrison, why don't we finish this case for you?
Oh, no.
So yeah, I have been routinely put in my place with these gold people. So I'm going back to amalgam and composites.
Where there are no amalgam composite people being in place there.
Yeah,
either.
I can rule my own world.
Oh, that's funny. So you're on the East Coast of things, which I am very not familiar with, coming from the West Coast. Who are some of your mentors on the East Coast?
Dr. Tucker.
So you just fly all the way back to the West Coast, and that was, did you had a study club or something similar, or was it just your dad, or?
So I was with my dad for many, many years. And so with his retirement and subsequent passing, with Dr. Tucker Sr.'s passing, literally every prep I do, I've got one of them on each of my shoulders.
What do they say to you?
Don't give up your side job. No, it's very powerful. Having been mentored by my dad, I hear Dick in my ear constantly. Dave Thornburn has been a great help. Margaret Webb has been a great help. I photograph a lot. I post a lot. I get some feedback from them, like stop posting.
I know for a fact they would never say that. That's the voice you're hearing.
It's the private text messages I get.
Well, I know that Dave is not sending you any private text messages. He doesn't text message ever.
Exactly. That's true.
Oh, was there a specific moment that this kind of dentistry really clicked for you? I mean, you said you had your dad doing the gold practice. Did you know before dental school, like, okay, I'm going to be doing gold, or was it during dental school, or was it even later?
Well, actually, taking that question a little bit deeper, I went to an all-boys prep school for 10 years. It was grade 3 through 10. It wasn't, or 3 through 12. It wasn't that I did the same grades 10 years in a row. And at the time, I was big into shooting, and my uncle that I looked up to the most was his hobby was shooting, and that kind of inspired me. And so I thought upon graduation that I could take that passion and whatnot into something that might be a vocation. So initially, I actually looked into being in the CIA, and the concern I had as I thought about that a little bit further was the amount of time I'd spend out of the country, and maybe if I got in trouble, I was on my own. And so I thought, well, that wasn't really a good idea. So then I started looking at the FBI, and I thought, well, they move around a lot, and maybe that wouldn't be the best thing for a family. So then I thought about being a police officer, and then I thought, well, they don't come home sometimes. So then I thought, well, maybe I could go into construction because I like to build. And so I really considered that. And at the time, that was when the economy really had a pretty severe recession. And so a lot of contractors going out of business. So I'm like, well, can't really support a family that way. And then I started thinking about Dad, and I'm like, well, actually, he does construction on a micro level. So that's when the motivation became, okay, well, we're going to do this dental thing. And my dad, who came from a small town in Ohio, had moved to Washington knowing that the politicians were going to be the last ones that would ever want to suffer. And so sorry. So the consideration was we're going to go to Washington and set up a practice. And so the rest is history.
So is your dad just pulling his hair out the whole time, being like, obviously, you should be a dentist?
No, my dad never forced anything. And he was humble, he was tremendously talented, and he let me decide on my own. There was never any pressure.
When you see really beautiful gold work, what's the first thing that you usually notice?
Usually I don't say anything, because if it's really beautiful, it kind of takes my breath away. And I'm fortunate to have a real passion for what I do. And so, a lot of people my age are retiring or have retired, or there's a plan to retire. And right now I don't have a plan. I love what I do. I'm blessed to have, a supportive family. I'm blessed to have an amazing team. God-given patients that want the best, and I think that they hear and feel that passion. And so I think when I see really good work, I don't see a lot of gold work in Washington, to be honest with you. The gold work that I would see would probably be on patients coming in that my dad did their work. We've got patients in the practice that my dad did their gold work 75 years ago. And
wow.
It looks brand new. Looks beautiful, stunning, and his preps were different because his castings oftentimes were pin castings. So you're looking at X-rays that have typical formation of a metallic restoration, but there are pins everywhere. Pins as in platinum pins in his gold work.
Huh.
And so he was phenomenal. I mean, I think his hardest case, he did a bridge that went on from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and he did it as a splint. And all those teeth, each of them had 4 pins in them.
Wow.
So he had 24 platinum pins that were completely parallel that he cut by naked eye.
That's like an impossible path to draw.
It was amazing. It was amazing, but he did it. It was stunning.
What would you say separates competent dentistry from really excellent dentistry?
Passion. I think there's a lot of really great dentists out there, but I think what raises the game is whether they are doing it because they need to or have to, versus somebody that has passion. And to me, that's always a game changer. And you can tell when you look at something that maybe requires a little bit more effort, a little bit more work, or maybe it's the shine back, or maybe it's you looking at yourself in the finish of the restoration, that you're realizing that somebody spent that extra moment to make the difference. And as my dad always said, Eric, do every preparation as if that's the last time you're ever going to see that patient. And the next time that patient's will be sitting in someone else's chair. And so whether it takes 5 more minutes or 20 more minutes to get that restoration so it's as beautiful as I can get it, I will. And so I would say it's passion.
Yeah, I always try to take that extra 5 minutes, and unfortunately it turns into an extra hour, usually.
I hear you. I just try to be...
Can get it just a little bit better.
3 cancellations later when all the other patients have left.
Okay. Now, you lectured at the Academy of R.V. Tucker Study Club's annual meeting, which is a joint meeting with the American Academy of Gold Foil Operators. After your lecture, what were you hoping people would come away with from that?
Again, that lecture was on pretty much the final frontier, is what the title of the lecture was. It had to do with teeth that may otherwise be extracted and you move to other considerations, implants, dentures, what have you. And it was a way to restore these teeth definitively, predictably, using castings, diverging canals with cast post and core systems. And I think it was just the desire for people to see something different. I'm not aware, I'm sure there are people out there doing it. I'm not aware of them. And I thought it was just an interesting topic to kind of feed people's creativity and imaginations, because people in both those academies are tremendously talented. I'm humbled to be there in their presence. And I thought it might be something interesting to kind of feed them as they go back to their practice and maybe see the same thing.
Yeah, I know I talked to you a little bit about this. I think the most interesting thing was when you have the core that has those cast posts, but then also gets triangulated with another pin that goes through the core. I'll have to overlay some pictures, but it's I don't think I've ever seen that from anybody else, and if I did, I certainly don't remember it.
It's kind of a harrowing experience, actually. My assistant always looks at me at those morning huddles, looks at me like cross-eyed, like we're doing this again. It's kind of like when you do those distal lingual preps on the canines, and you're really pumped because you keep them preps ultra conservative, and I'm like, that's so sweet. And then you get the casting back, you're like, what was I thinking? This is so small. But anyway, once they go in place, then it's good. But I think the challenge that I have with those castings is the cement that I use sets so fast. You really have to be on your game, because if you're not, it's going to set prematurely and you're done. I had a specific case that, and it's also trusting your lab, so I had this specific case that I couldn't try in because there's no way I could retrieve it. It involved a series where they had done a root canal through an existing restoration. Instead of replacing the casting, I opted to do a casting in the casting to seal it more definitively. So oftentimes that area is restored with composites or whatever. And I was trying to come up with something more definitive. So I was using a casting in a casting. Margins are basically undetectable, compliments to the laboratory.
Yeah, they look nice. I've seen them.
But in addition to that casting, I had a post that was angled into one of the canal systems. So I had two separate castings.
Because you can't like get below like a crown or inlay where you can kind of tease it out.
You can't get it out. So I had to go right to completion, and I had to cement both the post and the inlay in place at the same cementing, the same mix, if you will.
Yeah.
Because the extra cement from the post is now in the canal, which is going to take the space if I let it set. And so anyway, it has to be all done one sweep. And so it's nice to know when a lot of these preparations are mostly circular, trying to get the exact orientation.
The clocking,
yeah. You had one shot, and God was merciful that day.
That's good. That's good. How much sweat did you have?
I used to go through 3 or 4 scrubs in one day. So.
Yeah, there we go. Now, you've been pretty generous about sharing cases and ideas online. I've seen a lot of posts. Maybe that was just because before I started looking on like the Tucker Facebook group or something like that, that you had been the one that had been posting quite a bit before then, which I think it got deleted somehow from the account got messed up.
I'm not exactly sure. It was just coincidentally timed with a team member that was released who had access as the administrator. I think she erased 20 years of history on Facebook. But we're back.
We're back at it. We got another 20 years ready to go. Well, where does that enthusiasm come from to do that stuff? To share the cases? Because I've noticed that there's not a ton of enthusiasm to perpetually at least post cases.
I don't know if I have an answer to that. I think it goes back to the passion that I have, and I want to share what I have, because maybe, it's interesting, in some of the academies, they can't possibly share what they know, because if they share what they know, the other people, if they're local with them, they're going to steal all their patients is the mentality. So they only tell them like half truths. And the mentality in the gold community is very different. The mentality that I experience is there's a ladder before us. And if I share with you what I know, you're going to go up that ladder 1 or 2 steps. And by you going up that ladder, you're going to throw pearls my way, and I'm going to join you on that ladder. And together we can climb that ladder and both receive, even though there might be a difference in experiences or quality or whatever, somehow we both seem to travel up that ladder together. And that's a really powerful lesson I think that I've learned through the academies, the gold academies, I should say. And I think that's my aspiration, is maybe through sharing, whether it's lecturing in person, whether it's posting something online. I think my goal is just to educate. And I think that education goes a long way, because obviously on social media you also have patients or prospective patients.
Right.
The posting has created a lot of conversation nationwide, actually, where people hear what we're talking about or see what we're talking about, and they're curious, and whether they call me or we direct them to someone close to them that might be able to help them in that regard. Again, it's just a matter of educating people as to what the options are and what is potentially possible.
So maybe a tie into that, when you're helping or mentoring younger dentists, what do you hope to pass on besides just the techniques?
Passion. I think to hopefully what I share with them, the passion is palpable, and I hope that it's funny, because as with anything, if you get a group of people together, some people, everybody's there for a reason. They're there because they're interested or they're curious. But the more you're around them, the more you share with them, the more they see. There might be some that are mediocre. It's like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'll remember this next time. It's a little sword in my arsenal. But then there are those that also have, maybe they're at a more elementary level, but they have that passion, and they certainly have the hand skills. I'm privileged to do a lot of work at Walter Reed, actually mentoring or assisting with a study club that my dad started over 50 years ago. And I've been privileged over the years to see some residents there that just have tremendous passions and desires, and so it's really fun to share with them and to watch their excitement and enthusiasm to do quality work.
Well, I think some of that enthusiasm is rubbed off on me. I get excited. I want to do all the castings. I haven't had the opportunity yet to do one of those endo access castings just yet, but
it's coming.
It'll come down the pipe, I'm sure.
It's coming.
How do you encourage that curiosity and confidence in other dentists?
I don't know if I have an answer to that. I don't necessarily look for that. I don't necessarily look for results, and if it's something that my persona rubs off on them in that way, then that's a good thing. I have a lot of things that keep me distracted, so I don't necessarily can focus on something like that. So I just keep moving, and if I make a difference, then that's a beautiful thing.
When you look back on your impact to dentistry, what do you hope stands out?
That I made a difference. I think whether it's in somebody's life, whether I was saved a tooth, whether I saved a smile, whether I gave somebody the ability to smile. The smile is such a powerful component of who we are. And I'm sure you've seen in your own practice where you'll see somebody that maybe has an issue, they're down, they're disgruntled, they're upset, they are embarrassed, whatever the reason is, they just can't be themselves. And whether it's a simple composite, whether it's a veneer, whether it's a veneer case, whether it's a full arch, whether it's a full mouth reconstruction, whether it's a denture, whatever the scenario is, that whatever we try and do impacts them in a powerful way. And to have that person just really like a flower in front of you on fast forward, open up in front of you and smile, and the number of patients that have cried in the chair after we were done in a good way. I think that's a very powerful moment. And I think that's our goal, not to get them to cry, but to make a difference.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing when you can change someone's life for the better, for sure.
By the grace of God.
Let's see. What would you want a young dentist watching this 30 years from now to understand about gold dentistry and this type of passion for it.
I hope in 30 years they still have the ability to do gold. We're at kind of a crossroads right now with the price of gold, hovering around $5,000 an ounce. Some of the materials that we use for direct gold are being questioned as to whether they can continue. We've had difficulty over the past 10 years in instrument acquisition. There's no real manufacturer right now that's making our instruments. I understand maybe through this meeting that there may be a new avenue for us to acquire the right instruments. But I hope that we still have that opportunity. And, as I look back and watch Dr. Tucker tapes and some of the giants from the past, what's kind of neat about the West Coast gold guys is that those black and white dusty photographs that we have on the East Coast that we know the names of, but we don't know the people, those were the fishing partners. Those were the Saturday morning fishing guys. They were the Tuesday night poker guys. The guys on the West Coast knew these people as friends and family. And to me, that was really super powerful. We don't have that relationship yet on the East Coast, but certainly we have strong friendships. I'm not saying we don't have that, but I'm sorry, as far as the mentorship, at least with gold, comes from the West Coast. And I hope maybe 30 years from now, people can look back and whether it's this video or videos of the dentists of today, that they can make a difference for those dentists down the road.
Awesome. Yeah, one of the most powerful things I've noticed with this type of dentistry is the mentorship and the passion. So, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, and the willingness to share. It's like the gold guys, as I mentioned a moment ago. It's like if you can sit there long enough, they'll keep talking, and they'll keep sharing until the story's done. And that's a beautiful thing, as opposed to filling the glass halfway up and then walking away as if that's the end of the story. And then you spend weeks, months, years trying to figure out the other half of the glass. And the gold people aren't that way. It's like here's the whole enchilada. Get ready.
All right. Well, that concludes all my questions I had for you. I told you it'd be easy.
Hey, man, I appreciate you.
So now all we gotta do is go forth and prosper, I guess.
Let's go. Thank you so much.
It's funny you're talking about the expensive gold being 5,000 an ounce, and a lot of the old articles that I found, like even I think it was Gerald Stibbs has a bit where he was telling people about you can still do gold, it's not too expensive, and like that was when gold was hundreds of dollars an ounce.
So an interesting story with that is my dad, in the days of written charts, nowadays, well, when I got out of dental school, we had written charts, but they were pages and pages and pages of all sorts of perio probings and pathology papers and whatever. So my dad's old charts prior to me joining the practice were 3x5 cards.
Okay.
And on that 3x5 card, he would have the date, 2-word description, gold foil, and then a price. And it's amazing to see the price of that gold work from not just 30 years ago from me, but 20 years earlier in his own practice. And to look at the gold, would do a gold foil, it'd be like $27.
Expensive.
Where now I can't even get a rubber dam for $27.
Oh man, hopefully that's not true.